Okay, everybody, my name is Philip Haywood, and I'm a grateful recovering dope fiend and an alcoholic. My story is pretty similar to the three guys that spoke earlier, but I'm not gonna get real deep, but I'm just gonna share share my experience, strength, and hope with you all in the room. My addiction first started probably when I was smoked my first joint at probably about 13. And my aunt turned me on to smoking weed, and gradually, as time went on, in middle school, I got caught with a joint of weed in my locker, and nothing happened. So pretty much, I kept smoking weed. By the time I got to high school, probably as a ninth grader, I was a full-fledged drug addict. I used to skip class all the time, go drink, go smoke, come back to school, do my work. But probably as a sophomore, it got really, really, really bad to the point where during my sophomore year, I think I went to school actually one semester out of 6 credits that you could earn for the whole year. I think I earned 3. And as a direct result, it was the drugs and alcohol that kept me kind of bound and gagged. And soon after that, after my junior year, same thing, alcohol, drugs, parties, and plus I had liberal parents, so, they really let me get away with murder, blah, blah, blah. And my parents, they used to find rolling papers in my pocket and stuff like that. And my dad told me, son, if you keep smoking reefer, it's going to escalate into something else. And I didn't believe that. I felt like I was invincible and nothing could happen to me. And I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and finally, I withdrew from high school as a senior, which I thought I was going to graduate on time, and I didn't. So I had to go enroll into an adult school down at Mirror Lake, and I went to Mirror Lake. And wherever you go, you take the addict with you. So if I go to Bangladesh, the addict go with me. The addict you can't put him in the pocket, but he just go. My addict mentality goes everywhere I go. So I went down to Mirror Lake, attempted to go to school. At least I left the house every day. But as far as going to class, I really didn't accomplish much there. I think I took a bunch of classes, but I only ended up passing one class. And then in between all of that, I signed up for the U.S. military. And I got booted out of Mirror Lake, and I've already committed to the military. So I had a big choice I had to make. I had this commitment that I had signed, and I said by this day I'll have my high school diploma. And when I got kicked out of Mirror Lake, I didn't have my diploma. So what I did was I went back to Lakewood High School, signed up again. Everybody thought I graduated, but it took a lot of intestinal fortitude for me to go back and get my high school diploma, because that was something that I really needed. So once again, I took my addict with me. First semester of school, I was cool. I was drinking, smoking weed, doing my thing, and stayed focused. But the second semester, once again, it really got out of hand, and it got to the point where I had failed a sociology class, and my sociology teacher, he was a real liberal dude. So he says, Philip, I know you smoke pot, blah, 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 blah. He says, I'm going to tell you how you pass my class. Just go get a doctor's note, write me an essay, and you'll pass my class. So I did exactly what he said. So I ended up graduating, but the night before graduation, I always hung out with older guys that were older than me. So the night before graduation, I got with some older guys, and we snorted cocaine till the wee hours of the morning. And I went home, and I slept. I think graduation was like at 2 o'clock. I think I slept all the way to like 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I felt really bad. And it was like I really didn't want to go and shake hands and grab my diploma, but it was something that I needed to do because I had an obligation I had to fulfill. So I graduated, and that was in June. And in August of 1983, I signed up for the U.S. I had already signed up to go to the military. So I went to basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey, and it was pretty rigorous, and it was 8 weeks, I think it was. So my parents and my brother and my girlfriend came up, and my brother knew I liked weed, so he bought me a 4-finger bag of weed to my graduation. So The same. We flew. After graduation, my parents came and girl and everything. They came, and after they left, I flew on to Fort Lee, Virginia. I took the bag of weed and went to Virginia and was at a party, and it was just drugs were my life. Like some people love alcohol. I love both, to be honest with you. And drugs were just that was a symptom of my disease, and it continued throughout my career in the military. So after I finished basic, I finished AIT at Fort Lee, Virginia. I went on over. I took a 21-day leave, and then I went over to Europe, and that's where the party started. There was no pot over there. It was all hash and alcohol, and I already knew how to drink, but I probably became an alcoholic during that time. You get up, you go to PT, you eat, you smoke weed, you drink after work, and it was just, that's all I did, really. I mean, I didn't do any work. All I did was, it was like I was on just a vacation, just smoking and drinking and smoking and drinking. And what ended up happening to me was that the company we had drug tests. The first drug test, I got caught, and I think I just got promoted to a private first class, and I hadn't been in the Army but maybe 7 months. And couple months later, I get smashed again. This time, I get kicked out for drug and alcohol failure. And I kept wondering to myself, what am I going to tell my parents? You know, I'm 19. Hadn't been in the Army very long. So when I found out I was getting kicked out, I called my parents and I told them. And, you know, it kind of, as I think about it, it brought shame to my family, because what I do affects my family as well as just me. It's always not about me, it's about other people too, because I gotta, you know, my family, they love me and they don't want to see anything bad happen. But after I got out of, after I was kicked out of the Army, I came out, got a couple of jobs and worked and discovered crack cocaine. That was the worst thing that I could have ever discovered. And that's when the vicious cycle of my drug use really, really escalated. And I committed my first crime. I think I got drunk and beat up some guy, and then I got a battery on a cop. In 1985, that was my first brush with the law. And 1985, I was on probation. 1986, I was in prison. 1987, I got out of prison. 1988, I caught a gun charge and a robbery charge. I was sentenced to, the battery charge, I was sentenced to 2 years community control. Then I got caught with a nickel bag of weed and driving while license suspended or revoked. They gave me 18 months in prison for that. So I went to prison and I got out in 87. And then in 88, I caught a gun charge and a robbery charge, and they offered me 3 years in prison. But I told them, nah, I wasn't. And in my mind, I wasn't ready to stop smoking crack. That's why I wanted to buy myself some more time. And then they came to me with 9 years with 3 years mandatory. I said, nah, I ain't doing that. I said, set it for trial. And when they set it for trial, they came back with one last offer. 7 years and 2 years probation. I really didn't want that either, but that was the best thing, smoking, because I couldn't go back and ask for that same 4. So I took the 7 years and 2 years probation. And when I went to court, the judge, he says, well, I strongly recommend that you get some drug treatment. And I went to prison, did my 7 years, got out, never got any drug treatment. So what happened was I did like 18 months on probation, and I came up positive for cocaine. Went to jail on a violation. I got out the next day. Usually on a violation charge, you don't get out. You don't have a bond or anything. But it was by God's grace that I somehow got out. So I continued to get high, and I had went on a binge, and I came home, and I was looking for some stuff to take out of the house. So I saw the VCR, and I looked at it, and something told me, nah, don't do that. So I don't know what it was divine intervention or whatever, but I called like 3 different drug rehab facilities. I called Operation PAR, and the lady asked me, I remember her asking me, I said, I don't need help later, I need help now. She says, well, there's an 18-month waiting list. I said, I can't wait. I called DACO in Tampa. They told me it was a 12-month waiting list. I says, I can't wait that long. So I remember my uncle, he's deceased now. I remember him going down to St. Anthony's. And at that time I had a job, so I had insurance, thank God. So I called St. Anthony's and I told him that I had an issue with drugs and alcohol. And the lady asked me, did I have insurance? And I said, yes, I do. She says, well, come on down and we can give you an assessment. So I called my brother. I said, listen, man, take me down to St. Anthony's. I'm going to get myself together. I don't want to do drugs anymore. So that was April of 1991. And the funny thing about when I was admitted, they gave me some drug. I don't know what it was. It made me sleep for 3 days. And all I could do was sleep and eat. And after 3 days of that, I told the nurse, don't give me any more of that. I don't want any more of that. And finally, they took me off of one side and put me on the other side. And my treatment began. And it's really hard to go to a 28-day program. I didn't stay the whole 28 days. I stayed 23 days. And the success rate of going to a 28-day program and picking up and absorbing so much information in such a short time, probably the odds back then, I think the odds of somebody staying clean back in 1990, they told me the odds of staying clean for a lifetime is 1 out of 35, I think, drug addicts back then stay clean for life. And I put it in my mind that I was going to be that 1 out of 35 drug addicts that stay clean for life. And until this day, I have never, ever relapsed by the grace of God. I go to AA and NA, and they told me when I left treatment, they said, do 3 things. Go to meetings, get a sponsor, don't get in relationships. Now, I got a sponsor. I went to meetings, but I got into a relationship. But I didn't know what they meant by don't get in relationships until I got in one. And if there's anybody in here that's ever got to go through that personal struggle, follow those directions, because relationships are tricky. You got to give yourself time to get to know who you are and become focused on on staying clean, because in my opinion, a relationship can become a real distraction, and it can take you back out to where you don't want to be. And I got in a relationship, and it was crazy. But I don't regret anything about going to treatment. That's probably the best thing that I've ever done for myself, other than enrolling in school, to go to a drug treatment program and recognize that I had a real issue with substance abuse. And I'm like the gentleman, every now and then, I think about a beer, a cold one. I think about, and I'm going to be gut level honest with y'all. If I could smoke a joint, smoke 1 line, drink 1 beer, and function at full capacity, and come to school, make A's and B's, and function at full capacity, I would do it. But the more I think about it and I analyze it, as a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, I cannot do it. I cannot do it. I've tried to analyze it and I've tried to figure it out. Can't do it. Because in the basic text, they say drugs, institutions, and death. I've been to jail. I've been to a treatment center. And if I choose to go back out and take another drink or take smoke some cocaine, I know I'll probably die. So I choose to try to live life on life terms. And what the rooms of recovery have taught me is that it's not the drugs, it's how I've had to redefine my coping skills, because I don't know how to cope with certain things. You know, some people don't know how to cope with success. Some people don't know how to cope with failure. And those are some things that will take you back out there in the streets. And Lord knows I don't want to go to prison again. Prison ain't what it used to be. Prison ain't got rough. You know, I'm 47 years old. I got a 15-year-old son. I can't let my son see me go down the tubes. I mean, I've already been there, and I'm trying to help raise my son. So I got to be an example for my kid as well as example for young people in my community. But it's one of the, you know, to me, recovery is like the Peace Corps is the toughest job I'll ever love. And with that, I think I'm just going to pass on the rest, but I just want to give y'all a brief synopsis and let y'all know that it's a lot of people around you that have probably been in a similar situation, but they won't get up and let the rest of the people know that, hey, addiction could be beat, but you got to work at it. It don't come easy. You got to work. You got to take suggestions. You got to change people, places, and things. There's a lot of stuff that you really have to do, and if you want to stay clean, those are the things that you really gotta focus on. But it's fun to me. I mean, every now and then, like I said, I think about a beer or whatever. I'm just being honest, but you know, I've even had a dream that I've used drugs, but I had to come to the realization and remember that I'm not responsible for what I do in my sleep. It's only a dream. It's only a dream. But some people have actually gone out and acted on a dream that they had, but you don't have to do that. And in my opinion, it's all about the choices that we make in life. And the choice that I make today is not to use drugs or alcohol. And
Thank you very much. Thank you. This was very nice. These are very good, memorable words from people here. Well, this is gonna conclude this Red Ribbon event. But if we can just bear in mind and keep in our hearts the stories that we heard today about some of the people who have actually overcome these terrible diseases and moved on, and think of it ourselves and put some thought into our own convictions. You know, we go through life and we see, we in our communities, we see struggles unfold and we see events transpire. But we may not want to contribute to any of the pain or the struggles that people are experiencing, but we really don't want to be just spectators as well either. You know, we want to speak about it in our churches and in our communities and in our groups and stuff like that. So do we always have those that are struggling on our mind and in our hearts. So unless anybody has any questions, yes.
Oh, one question I have, Dr. Brady, is
I'm not a doctor.
What are the statistics that back then when I went to treatment they said 1 out of every 35 addicts stay clean for life? What is it?
I don't know what it is now, but I know AA has something like almost over a 90% successful rate. What are the things for AA? It's over 90% successful, right? Yeah, no, but I mean, really, literally. So in NA, I'm not sure how great the success that is, but I really don't know that. But it's different today. Today there is meds. There's different types of therapy. It's a science now, and the science is down. There's meds and there's behavioral therapy, and there's things to help people move on. Yes.
Well, he was saying 1/3. I remember I was in rehab. It was almost the same thing. It made me think about how I was. Man said 1 in 15 of you going to make it. And with my ego back then, I was saying, well, I'm going to be one of those 1 in 15.
But it's a real difficult. It's a disease for life. It's like malaria, right? You never overcome it. When you acquire the disease, we have it for life. And so any other questions? Well, listen, thank you, speakers, all of you, and Craig and Philip and Raymond. Yep. So.